I'm Patricia Allingham Carlson, and this is my video of how I painted my watercolor black damselfly. I had just finished up a more complicated painting involving a building and lots of perspective and angles, and I wanted to paint something that might be a little bit more easy. Since I love dragonflies as well as beautiful butterflies, I was thinking about a butterfly. And while I was in my garden, a black damselfly kept flying all about me. I'd never painted a black dragonfly before, and I thought, well, that sounds intriguing. So I did some research, and I decided that would be what I would tackle. You can't put a black bug against a dark background, so I decided to go with the colors of a dawn. Now let's paint. I began with a sketch. For proportion's sake, I measured the body against the size of the wings. They were about similar, so that's what I went with. I'm using my fingers here, like a caliper, to measure the size of the body and the wings. It's a pretty convenient tool since you usually carry your hand around with you. The body is composed of different sections, including the head and the abdomen, the thorax. So I'm sketching in the basics of where the different parts are located. And I did do a lot of refining on this initial sketch. Next, I began to do some masking. The main reason for masking this is so that I can freely paint the background and it won't run into the wings, because I had some specific colors in mind. And I wanted to keep my colors on the wings very clean. And if they were mixed together with the background colors, they wouldn't stay nice and clean. I'm using a small ink pen, and I'm using Peebo masking fluid, which seems to work about the best for me. What you're going to see is the pen is old, and as I'm using it, paint is flaking off the handle, dropping onto the painting. It was annoying, but it certainly did not injure my painting in any way. Masking is time-consuming to apply if you're trying for small details. Just doing an outline doesn't take as much time. I did a lot of veins in the wings, and that was quite a time-consuming way to pursue the painting. But to me, it's worth it to get the details that I was able to get. Dragonflies' wings are so intricate and so beautiful. And I was going for trying to capture the iridescence of the light sparkling off of them. As I'm working with the masking fluid on the body of the dragonfly, I decided to make it longer. And I did not bother sketching it with a pencil. I just used the masking fluid to extend the abdomen down lower. And then I begin to go into the wings and put some of the vein work in. Looking closely at this creature, this damselfly, some areas of the black wings are actually a little translucent, and I wanted to carefully preserve that so I can show the light coming through in those sections. I'm looking very close up at the anatomy of a damselfly's wings as I draw these veins in. I'm not drawing in every vein, just some of them. But what I am putting in is spots of light so that I can later fill in some colors into those spots to try to show the sparkle on the wings. This takes a lot of dipping and a lot of time, but doing the prep for something very intricate like this seems to pay off. And as I've said before, with masking fluid, once it is down and on your painting, you want to do the work around it and take it off as soon as you possibly can. Masking fluid that stays on longer than 4 or 5 days becomes more and more difficult to remove when you're ready to take it off. So if you're going to use it, which many artists don't want to use it at all, well, don't leave it on for too very long. But do your work, let it dry, do the painting work around it, and try to have that done within, I'd say, 5 days, and then get the stuff off so it doesn't dry up and become impossible to remove at all. So the masking has been applied, I'm satisfied with it, and I'm wetting with a wide paintbrush all around the damselfly. After I use the wash brush, I come in with a more fine-tipped brush to make sure I'm close enough and go right around and up to the wings and the body. And I've come in with cadmium yellow light and cadmium yellow medium. My next color is quin magenta, and I'm trying to let those colors run together. Right next to the quin magenta, I'm putting in some Windsor violet. And last I've mixed in some ultramarine blue. Now this point gets a little tricky. I was planning to use salt, and yet the salt won't even show if the colors are too light. So I'm trying to add some more color, and if I do it too long after the first color is down, it will feather a lot. Now feathering is a beautiful effect, but you do want to control it where you want to control it. At this point, I'm now adding viridian green and sap green, coming in with a little bit of indigo at the very bottom and some hooker green dark mixed with indigo. I chose to apply the colors in a diagonal that goes in the opposite diagonal of the direction of the damselfly's wings. And that's for compositional dynamics. If everything was in the same diagonal, I'm afraid it would just fly right off the page. And this way I'm trying to make sure I keep the attention on my composition and my painting. Now I'm sprinkling in some salt. And you can see it's already doing its effect up in the Quin Magenta. At this point, I should not be adding more paint, but I'm not minding the rules and I'm doing it anyway. Generally, once your salt's down, you want to leave your paper alone. But there I am breaking the rules. Oh well. A little more salt sprinkling on. I've allowed the paper to dry, and I begin working on the wings. I'm painting right next to each area of masking, around the masking, around the veins that I've masked out. And I'm starting with the Quin Magenta. Next, I'm adding some greens. Some purples and some ultramarine blues are coming in next. And still, I'm painting along where the masking was applied, along the outer edge of the wings and along the veins. I'm trying to treat the wings in a similar manner and yet not identical, because as this living creature flies, it's catching the light on its wings in many different ways, and everything is not going to be uniform. For the body of the Damselfly, I have masked right down the center to try to keep a shiny line down the center of the body. And I used turquoise and viridian green. And now I'm coming in with some indigo mixed with some purple for the darkest section, which is the eyes and the shading around the head. I next apply some shading along the sides of the body. And these are the areas where I'm trying to show the light coming through the wings, where they are translucent. And I thought that the yellow ochres and the cadmium yellows showing through the wings would be a good color there, because most of the rest of the wings will be very dark. And here comes my darks. Now I'm painting over the masking, but I'm also painting around some of the brighter colors that I've applied to make sure that they get included in some areas where there's no masking at all. To make this very dark color, I've mixed indigo, Payne's gray, and purple, along with a little bit of Van Dyke brown. This is not black, but these are actual real colors mixed together in a concentrated manner to make a watercolor that looks black. And yet the reasoning not to use black is because black is a very dull color in nature. And some artists say it doesn't really exist in nature at all. That the darkest blacks that you see are actually really dark, dark, dark blue or dark, dark, dark purple. or even dark, dark gray. And it's interesting that this layer going on, which looks so dark now, actually needed to be glazed at least 3 times with another layer of dark. And I'm really laying the paint in there. This is probably the easiest part of the whole painting. And the hardest part was doing all that work with the veins. Since the background was dry, I decided to go back and lay in a couple more brighter colors, because it wasn't quite as bright as I would like it. I put in the layer of color, and then I wet my brush and I'm washing out the color on the edges so it will blend naturally and not look liney. So color is applied and then washed out with water along the edges to blend it. If this dries and looks like it's very liney, then I will come back in with more water and I will wash it out some more along the edges. Moving onward, I've mixed up some more dark color and I'm applying it to the rest of the wings. Now I've completed all 4 wings and I'm going in with a second layer of dark on top of the dry paint. I want the contrast of a very strong dark against my soft light colors. And applying a little dark to the background for some contrast as well. Anybody who works with watercolor knows that if you layer too many different colors on top of each other, you're going to end up with dull colors. So I'm being really careful not to let things dull out. And now I'm taking off the masking on the body. And you could see that almost all the paint is gone. I guess I must have put on too much masking. So I'm coming back and making the body edges very dark. Mix together indigo and Payne's gray. And in between those very strong darks, I'm laying in some turquoise and some viridian green mixed together. Because the damselfly's body was very, very iridescent turquoise. The color was beautiful. I like to show the details on the body as well as the wings. And I am consulting a photograph to get the anatomy right, or as right as I can. With the masking gone, I have to try to be careful to preserve the lightness down the center of the body. Taking the rest of the masking fluid off of the insect's head and his thorax. And I'm using a small brush to put in the details of his eyes and the shine on his head, as well as the colors I see to work with. This part of the body is mainly very dark, but it has its iridescent shines, and I'm trying so hard to get them captured in this painting. Now the wings are not just stuck on the body, but they're actually attached to the body with very strong little ligaments and muscles. And looking closely at my photographic reference, I'm trying to get these muscles and ligaments placed correctly and painted around. It could certainly be a lot simpler, but I like the details of the body and I find it interesting. If it was a real creature, I would like it to be able to actually fly. So I'm trying to get it right. Time to take the masking off the wings. And man, does it look different. At this point, I need to decide where I'm going to cover the white entirely, where I'm going to add color for more sparkle, and where I'm going to paint over with my very dark black mixed color. Since I like the magenta showing in the wings, that's what I'm starting with. My next colors I'll be adding will be the purple, ultramarine blue, and viridian. And then I'll be reinforcing the area where I wanted the wings to be translucent and putting in my golden colors there, very close to the body. The wings become less see-through as you move outward from the body. Now at this point, what colors I put in don't matter a whole lot if I put too many colors in, because I can cover it over with my very dark color. The main thing is I need to make the lines more subtle in the white areas and make it try to appear natural. I also want to keep all the little details that I've retained by putting the masking fluid on in the first place. So the small dark veins can't be overpainted or they will disappear in the watercolor as it dissolves with additional colors put on top. So it's a fine balance. There's an awful lot of small detail work here. Blending, adding, and even some more taking off of color. But it's starting to come together. Wing by wing, I am blending the whites in with colors. I am leaving some spots pure white here and there just for a little sparkle. And I'm adding more darks. Some of the darks I'm adding as small little vein areas and outlining some small cells. In some cases, I'm taking a damp brush and just gently painting over my white veins that show, with a little dampness to blend them in a bit. And then here comes the next layer of very strong darks, which are making the bright colors sparkle and really stand out, almost like a stained glass window. I'm taking a small brush, making the sides of the body darker still, so the bright iridescent turquoise color stands out more on the body as well. What I'm doing next is lifting some color to make the brights of the body shine. And here I'm showing you my color palette for mixing a strong dark. That's the sepia mixed with indigo and purple. Some Payne's gray as well, because I need to get in there again and make some very dark areas to pop the brights out, as well as to outline some of the veins, which are actually very dark on the creature. Using a small brush and doing very intricate and small detail work with that small brush. Now this is taking a lot of time, but I'm really into the painting at this point and making this beautiful little damselfly look as attractive and intricate as I possibly can. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I'm outlining the veins, I'm outlining the bright color areas, and I'm making some very small little intricate cells where lines go all through with capillaries into the veins to give it support, structure, and to carry its blood out to the wings so it can use them as a living creature. It's funny, I don't have a lot of patience for details on other paintings that I do, but I sure do enjoy doing these little tiny wing details. And again, I'm going wing by wing. The wings are not all the same. Some of them are catching more rainbow light than others. The basic structure of the wings is fairly symmetrical, but even the structure of where the veins go seem to show some differences from wing to wing. But I'm not a damselfly expert either. I'm just painting what I see and what I think looks good. Going back to the background, adding a little more Viridian green, another layer of deep, deep, deep darks. So what is that, 4 layers now? I just know I had to keep adding it. I'm cleaning up the edges of the wings. I want them smooth, but I also don't want them hard-edged. So after I clean up the edges, I go in with a damp brush and soften those hard lines a little more. Now I just noticed that there was a light above one wing, so I decided to enhance that by softening the color of the wing and making it look like there was, a bright orb of light showing through behind the damselfly. And I thought that added a nice effect to the top right wing. Here I'm softening the edges of where I added paint with a damp brush and some blotting. Also removing a little color where I wanted to get that effect. Carry the light downward. To remove the color, again, I'm painting water over the area and then blotting it hard with my paper towel. Not rubbing, but blotting. And working to accentuate the diagonal in the opposite direction of the dragon or of the damselfly. I decided to add some little light swirl lines. So I'm taking a very strong brush, painting them in with water, and then blotting them off. I thought that might show some movement in the background. That's my evaluation technique to see if I like how all the 4 different sections look and what I want to do to finish off the painting. I'm signing it and it's done. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I painted my black damselfly. I hope you learned something that might be helpful to you in your own artwork. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And there's links below to check out. You can see my art page on Facebook, my blog about art and life, some products that I use to create my paintings, and my own art products page for purchase. Love to read your comments and try to respond. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next video.